but screw it, I'ma do it anyway. I don't know how this will turn out, but screw it, I'ma do it anyway. I don't know how this thing works, but screw it, I'ma do it anyway. I don't know how this will turn out, but screw it, I'ma do it anyway.
What's up, good people? It's your girl, Nikki P. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Untamed, where we are talking about creating lives by us and not for us. So at the time of this video, y'all, it's June. It's June. It's June. Let me just let that sit for a minute. It's freaking June, right? I know most people think that the year goes by like really, really fast. For me, it actually hasn't. But still the realization that like we're almost halfway through the year. So now you know what that means. That means we got to do a mid-year check-in, a mid-year reset. Now it's not actually the end of June just quite yet. So I haven't done like a full reset or full check-in rather of the year up until this point. But I did kind of glance through, like I did kind of look back when I did my May check-in. I did kind of look back at January to just look at the goals that I had set in the different categories and to see like what shifted since then, what accomplishments. Like I do this monthly, but it's kind of nice to look from the beginning of the year, because what happens is a lot of times, whether it be we change, life changes, or a combination of both, usually by the time we get to this mid-year point where we started out the year saying we wanted to accomplish at the end of this year, might not quite be, still in the plan. So I did kind of just get a look at that to just even think about where I wanted to end for June. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I have been talking, especially this year, starting this year, I have really been honing in on limiting beliefs. Because even though the ultimate goal is to create a life, and I always say designed by us and not for us, because I think that too many of us are living a life that somebody told us that we should be living, that this is what our goals should be based on X, Y, Z, whatever, but not lives that actually resonate with who we are, that are actually aligned with who we are. So that's why I always say that. But before we can even get to the life of our dreams, the life that we love, we just want to wake up to, the real thing that keeps us from even making the steps to get to that point, it all starts in the mind. And so I started this year talking about limiting beliefs and really about identifying them. Because if you don't identify them, you can't even start to do the identity work. We can't even get to the version of us that's living the life that we desire if we don't deal with the belief system behind who we are today. And so that is why I talk a lot about it. And I don't just talk about it, I'm actually doing the work. So when I started reviewing, January versus where I am now, versus where I even want to be just at the end of June, and looked at the identity work that I've been doing in the different areas of my life, I have to say, since I started this journey, and even more so because I'm talking to y'all about it, I have uncovered beliefs that I didn't even know that I had. There were a lot that I knew about, with finances. All of us have something financial. We were all told some story. We all have some kind of experience that we had at some point in life that dictates the way that we spend money or not spend, as it were. And so that wasn't a surprise to me. That wasn't a surprise. But I think that even just how I was showing up in my relationships, what I believed about what my identity was in each of these relationships, talking about familial relationships, talking about friendships, talking about potential romantic partners, even realizing some of the invisible scripts that have been running in my head all this time that make me say yay or say nay every single day to any opportunity that might come along. And even in my journey of speaking Spanish, I even realized that there were some like limiting beliefs that I had even around that were keeping me from really putting myself out there enough to really become fluent the way that I want to become fluent around my fitness goals, right? Just a whole bunch of things, right? So I have to say where I feel like I grew the most, and it's a couple of different categories. I did grow in my finances. I will say that since this year has started, I have started a new income stream that has been consistently making money, some ups and downs, but you know how that goes. But I have started the process of making money outside of my 9 to 5, thereby putting an end to that belief that I could only make money from a job. Another area was still in the realm of finances, but the scarcity mindset that I had around how I spend money. Because one of the things that I've struggled with, and I don't struggle with it as much now because since I know that it's a limiting belief, I know how to deal with it. But one of the things that I've struggled with that falls under a scarcity mindset is I budget a lot. Like I budget the year, I budget the month, I come into every single month and every single week knowing or at least having an idea of what I expect to spend. Now, of course, life's. So there would be times where, expenses would pop up that I wasn't expecting. Now, I realized that because of a different point in my life when I wasn't financially stable, I really had a fear of constantly being in lack. And so I would, every time I saw an unexpected bill come through without even looking at my finances, I would immediately panic because I'm like, oh my God, I don't have money for this. That wasn't really true. It was an expense I wasn't expecting. Not that I didn't have money for it, but my belief was I didn't have money for it. Now, even though I've identified that belief, I realized that the trauma from when I didn't have enough money, that trauma still is like in my nervous system. So every time I have an unexpected bill come up, still today, I still feel that same kind of little bit of panic. But because I know the underlying piece to that, now I can say, hold on, wait, pause. I know what that is. So we're not going to panic. Okay, let's look at this. What is this? When is this due? Let me look at my budget. Okay, let me look at what I have on hand. Okay, let me make a plan to pay it back. Some stuff I can pay immediately, some stuff I might have to put on pause. But now, because I've identified it, I can now switch that thought of immediate panic of, oh my God, no, we don't have enough money. So I've grown in that area of my finances, of dealing with that scarcity mindset that I used to have, and dealing with becoming more of an earner and not just a consumer, somebody who invests, not somebody who just spends. And so shifting my identity, like I've been doing that kind of work with finances. With relationships, I realize this applies to my friendships and it applies to romantic partners. I realized that in my mind, I had this identity, this belief of thinking that I had to somehow earn or prove or something in the relationships that I was in. And they're all different. It wasn't even the same role in every relationship. But I realized that some of the ways that I was showing up, particularly in my friendships, I was showing up, I was performing, I was acting, if I don't do this, then they'll think that, and I have to be, and I have to do, and I have to, and not really allowing myself to ever be in a receiving position, not even giving my friends chances to give to me, because I was always in this giving mode. Like that was the identity that I took on, because somewhere along, the years, my belief was that I have to fight for this relationship. I have to fight my way. I have to prove my way. Like I had to do these things to be, instead of just sitting, allowing, my presence is enough. Like having to shift, and that is still something I'm working on, but just identifying that belief that that's what I was carrying, and that's the identity that I was showing up as in these different relationships. And so I think I grew in the sense of at least being able to identify where beliefs are, and knowing when I start feeling certain, if I feel emotion, if I feel a certain thing happening in my nervous system and I can't identify it very quickly, I know that, hold on, pause, what is this? And I know it's something I have to sit with, if I have to meditate, if I have to journal, like to do all those things to just understand what is my body experiencing right now? What is this belief that is circling right now? What is the underlying foundation to why I'm behaving this way or why I'm reacting this way? And so I really grew in that sense. And I think out of all of the things that I, have learned and have grown in since the beginning of this year, the one place where I still really feel resistance is learning to sit in a receiving posture and in being. Because when I talk about the identity of the person who has all of the things that I desire in life, it's not really, at this point, it's really not about doing more. And I'm not saying do nothing, but it's more about who I need to be. How am I showing up in these different rooms? How am I showing up every day as a woman with the identity of a woman who is at ease with her finances? How is she acting? What does she believe? What is she thinking? What is she saying? And getting used to that. How does it feel to be dating someone who is more interested in connecting with me as a whole person, as opposed to I'm trying to get with you and trying to see what you're doing tonight so I can get up in there? You know what I mean? Like shifting into that identity and identifying the beliefs of that person. Like I think that understanding that it's more about who I'm being as opposed to what I'm doing, because who I'm being actually dictates what I'm doing. Learning how to focus more on that part is where I think that I've grown the most. And so in this current season, as I'm looking to how I'm gonna end, this first half of the year, since we're still, we still got a couple of weeks, and really doing a full audit on all of the areas of my life. You mostly hear me talk about finances, you hear me talk about relationships. I do have spiritual goals, I do have fitness goals, you hear me talk about fitness as well. I have Spanish goals, I have creativity goals, because I am a creator. And I realized that in my identity of a creator, that's something that I haven't even been really pouring a lot into, because I had gotten so used to doing, that I was like, I need to actually just find time to just be creative, just be. This is part of who I am. So really gearing up to do a full audit on all of those and identifying any beliefs that exist in any of those different areas of my life that would keep me from getting to where I'm trying to go and all of those things. And so when I was doing the audit work, I realized that there is a belief loop that we all have, no matter what belief it is. You start with the belief becomes a thought, the thought becomes words, the words become actions, and then the actions ultimately affect the outcome. And so if you have a limiting belief, that's what keeps you stuck, because you believe one thing, then you keep thinking things that all tie back to that belief. So it keeps you in this loop of still thinking these things that really are not true. Then those thoughts, which you think winds up eventually coming out of your mouth. So whether you're talking to other people or whether you're talking to yourself, you'll find that you'll be saying certain things that all reflect that belief. And then because you say it, then your behavior, your actions, your habits, all of that will then dictate the outcome that keeps you right back in the same loop, because when the outcome happens based on what you believe, you'll use it as evidence that, oh, see, every time, see, and this is why I see, and it'll circle right back around, and then you'll go right through that same pattern again, and you'll just be in this forever loop, this forever like rat race of not being able to live life to the fullest that you can. And so in understanding that, that is what's driving me to really develop more of a system. Like, I've talked to you guys a lot about identifying the limiting beliefs. I haven't really taken a lot of time to talk to you about how to deal with the belief after you've found it. And I am working on a system to share with you all. Now, I do currently have a belief audit workbook for you to start identifying those different beliefs, so that you know what they are, so that when you see it, when you immediately, when the thought comes in your head, you stop and you say, hey, wait a minute, didn't I say that I had this belief? It helps you know what they are, because knowing, self-awareness is the first thing that helps you get, you can't even solve a problem if you don't know like what the problem is. That's the first thing, identifying the problem. So I've talked a lot about that, and I am developing a system to get you to the next phases of what to do after you discover that. But that is what these next couple of weeks, and even throughout the rest of this year, will be for me, to really sit and audit the thoughts that I have, and then start working on the reframe of those thoughts. Because when December 31st gets here, there needs to be such a quantity leap, a quantum leap from where I started 2026 to where I end 2026. I want that chick to be unrecognizable. Like, I want that chick to be unrecognizable. And so that is what's on deck for me for like currently and just through the rest of June. Now, as far as the rest of this year, I will, when I do my actual true like mid-year reflection and goal setting, I'm going to look at every area, and I'm going to look at where I said that I want to land, and look at where I am at the end of June, and just try to identify the gaps in each of those areas, in my spirituality, in my relationships, in my fitness goals, in my Spanish goals, in my finance goals, in my entrepreneurial goals. Like, where is the gap, between those two women? And so I challenge you guys to do the same thing. I think if you're following me, you are probably somebody that does make goals, or at least desires to make goals. You desire to see change in your life. You desire to be aligned with your true, authentic self. You desire these things. I would challenge you to do the audit. Do the audit, have your goals. Write out the different areas that you want to accomplish different things in. But after doing that, or alongside with doing that, do a belief audit. Look at each of those items and say, what is it that I believe that is stopping me from accomplishing this, from being this person? I would start there. Now, I will leave in my description, I will have a link to that belief audit workbook. It is absolutely free. You just need to click on the link, and you can start to do the work. And as I close out this video and close out this month, I can't believe it's June. I can't believe it's June. But I would, encourage you to, first of all, reflect on how far you've come. Before you start digging into how far you have to go, because this is also something I struggle with, look at how far you've come. Look at January. Look at even beyond January. Look at where you are now, and know that the person that you are today is further along than who you were yesterday. So celebrate that. Take a few moments to celebrate that. And then be encouraged and know that everything that you desire in your life is not always about doing more. You may not necessarily need to do more. What you may need to do in this season, these next few months, is to actually start to remove the blocks that are keeping you from this person. You may not need to add more of anything. You may already be a majority of the version of you that can have all these things that you desire. But you might have some things in the way, whether they be mental, physical things. You might just have some things in the way that you might need to move to the side before you can fully embody who that person is. So I would say to you, stay encouraged. Stay encouraged. And do the work. Do the work. Be all that you are meant to be. Be your true, authentic self. Stay connected with who you are, be aligned with who you are, and live life from that space and place. Thank you so much for rocking with me through this whole video. If you're still here, I appreciate y'all. I will see you on the next one. Have a good rest of the day, rest of the week, rest of whatever. Depending on when you're watching this video, and I will see you on the next one. It's your girl, Nikki P. Mwah.